Mr. O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Breedlove, if we arm Ukraine, what will Russia do?
Congressman, it's a great question. It's one that we are all working very hard on now. Clearly, we don't know what Mr. Putin will do. What we need to do is look at what is on the ground, the capabilities and capacities that he's building, and make inference from those capability and capacities. Right now, we are not arming the Ukrainians with lethal weapons. And what we see is Russia continues to build their force, continues to provide capability to the eastern Ukrainians. And so the fact that we're not doing now is not changing their path forward. So I think that we have to be cognizant that if we arm the Ukrainians, it could cause positive results, it could cause negative results. But what we're doing now is not changing the results on the ground.
But bottom line, I take your answer to be we do not know what Russia will do should we arm Ukraine. And Ms. Wormuth, would that be your answer as well?
Congressman, certainly we don't know with certainty how Russia would respond. And I also would add that in addition to thinking about whether to provide defensive lethal assistance, there are other measures we can take to try.
I understand, but the proposal on the table in terms of arming Ukraine should beg the question, what will Russia do? Then what are our options when Russia does any number of different things? And what are the second, third, fourth, fifth order consequences of arming Ukraine? That's what I'm trying to get to. I understand some of those considerations probably should not be discussed here, but I think bottom line, we don't know what Russia will do. The information I have shows that we spend a little under 4% of our GDP on our armed forces. Estonia 1.9%, Latvia 1.0%, Lithuania 0.8%, France a little over 2%. Are we not, Mrs. Wormuth, creating a moral hazard for Europe and especially for these Baltic states? What are you doing, what is the administration doing to get our NATO allies to spend a more significant % of their budgets on military so that we are not asking our taxpayers to do their job?
That's a great question, Congressman. A couple of things I would say there. First, at the Wales Summit, all of the allies agreed to a defense investment pledge to work towards providing 2% GDP as the standard. So that's an important step.
2% by when, and what are the consequences if they don't reach it?
I don't know if we put a by when on it, but what I would say is...
It's pretty urgent right now, considering everything that we just discussed.
Absolutely agree.
A date certain that you are going to commit if you want to make sure that we're going to be there for you. You've got to carry your weight. So there is not a date certain, or we just don't know what that is right now?
We think it may be 2020, Congressman, but let me check and get back to you on the specific details. Couldn't agree with you more that it is essential that our European allies invest more in defense. And this has been a long-standing challenge that we've had, frankly, with our NATO allies. Many secretaries have raised this. I do think that with everything that's happening vis-a-vis Russia right now, but also the threats posed by ISIL, our European friends have a greater appreciation for what they're truly facing, and some of them are revisiting in their own parliaments and governments how much they're investing.
So I'll just ask that you, and I appreciate that, but I'll ask that you give us a definite answer to that. I certainly would like that. I think my colleagues would like to.
Certainly.
As well. My last question for General Breedlove, what lessons do you take from the 2008 Russian-Georgia war that we could apply to what we're seeing today?
So the lessons are not good ones. As I mentioned just a little earlier in one of my comments, the Russian invasion of Georgia in 2008 was accomplished, but it was not a very clean operation for them. They lost aircraft, they lost lives. It was a tough slog for them, and I don't think they expected it to be a tough slog. And what we have seen is they have been a very learning and adaptive force. They have completely cleaned up the issues that we saw in Georgia as they went into Crimea. I would love to offer you a classified briefing to show you the depth and breadth of the way they have corrected their problems. Their military issues, the way they ran the military piece into Crimea, And then just from Crimea to Donbass, or the eastern part of Ukraine, they've corrected problems there as well. So
Thank you. I'll take you up on your offer. I yield back. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr.